All right, Gabe.
If you needed more evidence the Democrats are a party of elitists and hypocrites, look no further.
And a new report from the Free Press outlines how the supposed Trump resistance is bankrolled by some of the richest people out there. Our next guest is behind the investigation. Free Press's Gabe Kaminsky joins us now. Right to the war chest and these groups, Families Over Billionaires, really?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Families Over Billionaires, right? It's a new organization that launched to push back on the looming push in Congress from Republicans to push tax cuts. But if you look on its website, there's not actually an option for the public to donate to this organization. And the reason for that is because if you go in Washington, D.C. corporate documents, you can see that Families Over Billionaires doesn't actually exist. It's a trade name for a massive dark money network in Washington, D.C. called Arabella Advisors, funded by billionaires such as Bill Gates and Reid Hoffman.
Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, also the eBay founder Pierre Omidyar, the mega donor George Soros. It's just astonishing that they get away with this. But these organizations are set up, Gabe, correct me if I'm wrong, within the Arabella network, so you can't really figure out who's behind who the donors are behind these organizations, right? It's very shifty.
That's exactly right. And that's where the term dark money would come from here. It becomes very hard to trace where funding would go through this network. And there's similar versions on the right. And I think it's something that, watchdog groups think raises transparency concerns.
Well, there's transparency, but is that really going to stop them? Look, Arabella's been tracked for a long time. You're bringing a lot of this more to light, specific names attached, but they don't stop. Tides Foundation, George Soros, these are all part of this.
It's a great example. Again, this is anytime organizations call themselves grassroots, it's very rare that they are, particularly if they originate in Washington, D.C., where corporate interests and powerful people.
And the same recycled people out of an administration, right?
Yes, typically. So this organization's Families Over Billionaires is staffed by former Biden and Harris officials, including its director, Michael Linden, who was just in Biden's White House Office of Management and Budget, arguably the most powerful agency in the federal government.
Is the work effective, though? Or is it just the billionaires have so much money that they're just, they might as well, they're either going to set fire to it in a fireplace at their chalet in Switzerland or just throwing it out there into all of these Democrat causes? Does that make sense?
Well, that's a really good question. I think as far as this new organization, we'll have to see exactly what it does. Will it be launching lawsuits? Will there be further litigation? Right now, it's just releasing advertisements on YouTube of sort of grandmothers and younger people raising concerns about tax cuts, these paid actors funded by, the most wealthy people in the country.
It's astonishingly gross.
By the way, gross is easy to put it. How about they're just stealing the future from people because they're lying. They're creating narratives. They're telling people this is what you need to believe. And if you repeat it enough times, somebody holds on to it.
Well, look, I think it's important to say it doesn't discredit whatever this organization is pushing. I think certainly there's a lot of Americans who would oppose tax cuts for the wealthy, but it's important for people to be aware that an organization that calls itself grassroots and similar groups, that's not exactly the case.
Families Over Billionaires. I don't know, Bill Gates, a family man? Question mark. Billionaires over billionaires.